I've changed so much as a person since I've met Ellen. I used to think that the way to be strong was to be tough.
The entire world was captivated by the unfolding of the love story between Portia de Rossi and her partner. Following the conclusion of her divorce, she is now prepared to reveal the truth now that the dust has settled. In what ways does she reveal her deepest, most heartfelt confessions and surprising insights regarding love, loss, and moving forward? Let's get down to business. The story of Portia de Rossi begins in a small town in Victoria, Australia, which is located a great distance away from the bright lights of Hollywood. She was a young girl who was born Amanda Lee Rogers and came from a place that was quiet and unassuming. Before a terrible event occurred, life appeared to be straightforward, at least on the surface. Sadly, Portia Rogers lost her father, Barry Rogers, when she was 9 years old. A child's world can be completely shattered when they pass away at such a tender age. A struggle with identity and belonging that would last a lifetime for Portia began with this event. Margaret, her mother, was employed in the medical field as a receptionist. Following the passing of her father, she assumed the role of being the sole provider for the family. Grovedale is a suburb of Geelong, and it was there that Portia spent her childhood. While she was modeling for print advertisements and television commercials at an early age, she experienced a sense of disconnection despite the fact that she was appearing in front of cameras. During this time, she was a young girl who was struggling to find her identity while simultaneously coping with the immense burden of loss and uncertainty. When Portia was 15 years old, she made the decision to mold her future in ways that she did not fully comprehend at the time her decision was made. Her decision to change her name was made. She was able to escape the pain and trauma of her past by adopting the Italian surname de Rossi and borrowing the name Portia from a Shakespearean character. It was almost like she was shedding one skin and growing another. The decision was audacious, and it was one that many people would not comprehend. On the other hand, for her, it was more than just a change of name. It was a step towards becoming someone else. Her first foray into the world of acting was a small part in the Australian film Sirens, which was released in 1994. However, it wasn't until she relocated to Los Angeles that her career began to take off. However, the journey was not uncomplicated. She had a difficult time finding roles, and she exerted a lot of effort to get rid of her Australian accent in the hopes of becoming more natural in Hollywood. She was finally able to achieve success in 1998 when she was cast in the role of Nell Porter on the television show Ally McBeal. It was a momentous occasion for Portia, helping to propel her into the spotlight of the public eye. On the other hand, it caused a significant burden. Underneath the fame, Portia was concealing a secret that weighed her down more than any script could ever hope to do. One of her greatest fears was that people would discover that she was a lesbian, because she worked in a field that was not always kind to people who didn't fit a particular mold. She was afraid of the consequences that would result from being honest about who she really was. Portia's career managed to advance in spite of the inner turmoil she was experiencing. Her popularity continued to grow after she was cast in the role of Lindsay Bluth Funky on the television show Arrested Development in the year 2003. On the other hand, her private life was fraught with numerous challenges behind the scenes. Her marriage to the director Mel Metcalf took place in 1996. Despite this, the marriage did not originate from feelings of love. After some time had passed, she admitted that it was a part of an unsuccessful attempt to obtain a green card. In 1999, the relationship came to an end, leaving her feeling even more disoriented than before. The relationship between Portia and Francesca Gregorini, a director, lasted from the year 2000 until the year 2004. However, even at that point, she was unable to muster the courage to publicly acknowledge her orientation. The anxiety from the possibility of being ridiculed and shunned was too great. It was not until she became acquainted with Ellen DeGeneres in the year 2004 that Portia began to recognize a path that led her out of the gloom. It was Ellen, who was already a well-known figure in the LGBTQ+ community, who provided her with a sense of tranquility that she had not experienced before. In 2005, Portia was prepared to reveal her true self. Details and The Advocate conducted interviews with her. during which she discussed her relationship with Ellen, as well as the fears that she had been coping with for such a long time. At that moment, it was as if a burden had been lifted off of her shoulders at long last. In 2008, they tied the knot in Beverly Hills, California, in a private and intimate ceremony that was attended by their loved ones. The sensation that Portia experienced was similar to that of stepping into the light for the very first time in many years. However, even after she found stability in her romantic life, she continued to struggle with issues related to her body image and eating disorders. During her time on Ally McBeal, Portia had struggled with various eating disorders, including bulimia and anorexia, which had left her with profound emotional scars. These traumatic experiences were detailed in her autobiography, titled Unbearable Lightness, a story of loss and gain, which she published in the year 2010. Through her words, she hoped to be of assistance to other people who might be going through similar struggles. Portia's relationship with Ellen and her newly discovered openness provided her with the strength she needed to make it through the challenging process of recovery. 2018 was the year that Portia made the unexpected decision to end her career as an actress. She had spent years remaking herself, and the idea of stepping away from the spotlight seemed almost unimaginable at the time. Nevertheless, she was aware that it was the best option. She elucidated that she would come back for Arrested Development in the event that it was required. Despite this, she was, for the most part, prepared to move on from that period of her life. Off-screen, Portia discovered comfort in her relationship with Ellen and the fact that they both had a strong commitment to the cause of animal rights. Collectively, they contributed to a number of charitable organizations and causes, ranging from Locks of Love to the Gentle Barn. Over and above the realm of Hollywood, these things provided her with a sense of purpose and grounded her. On the other hand, Portia, like a great number of other women working in the industry, was not immune to the negative aspects of fame. A disturbing event that had taken place many years earlier was brought to light by her in the year 2017. Actor Steven Seagal had introduced himself to her while she was participating in an audition. Portia insisted on speaking up despite the fact that she was experiencing feelings of helplessness and vulnerability at that very moment. She hoped that by telling her story, she would inspire other women to give themselves the courage to do the same. When everything was going on, there was Ellen there, her spouse, her partner, and her loyal companion. It wasn't just about two people finding each other in their love story. It was also about Portia finally discovering who she was. When Portia was demonstrating her relationship with Ellen, she famously said, "I had no idea that it could be this simple to love someone before." After a number of years of struggling with anxiety, self-doubt, and reinventing herself, she had at long last arrived at a point where she could simply be herself. As someone who had spent a significant portion of her life developing new versions of herself, Portia de Rossi had at long last discovered the person who was a perfect match for her. When Ellen was born in 1973, her life took a difficult turn. By the following year, her parents had divorced after having separated from one another. The world that she had known broke apart, and it was up to her to put the pieces back together. Her mother, Betty, remarried a man named Roy Grusendorf. Not long after that marriage took place, Ellen and Betty relocated to a small town in Texas after getting married, and they left her brother, Vance, with their father. This move was made possible by the new marriage. It was not just a physical distance between them. A painful rift was created in Ellen's heart as a result of it. There was no relief for her in the life she led in Texas. Pain only increased as a result. The circumstance that was supposed to be a new beginning turned out to be a nightmare. Instead of being a protector, Roy turned out to be a predator. He should have been protecting her. As a means of taking advantage of Ellen's vulnerability, he used the fact that her mother had breast cancer as an excuse to violate her. Ellen wasn't fooled by his explanation that he needed to check for lumps. She knew better. On a particular evening, his advances became excessive. Through the use of force, he attempted to enter her room. "I was unable to take a breath. I was forced to leave," she recalled at a later time. During that night, Ellen ran away and spent the night at a hospital in order to get away from him. In spite of this, the trauma did not end there. Over the course of many years, she remained silent about the matter, which caused her to feel a heavy burden on her spirit. When she finally worked up the nerve to tell her mother, The reaction she received was even more devastating than she had anticipated. Betty was not convinced by her tale. Ellen was left to deal with the pain on her own because she remained with Roy for a period of 18 very long years. Ellen continued to move forward in spite of the disruptions in her home life. In 1976, she received her diploma from Atlanta High School. However, she did not remain interested in attending college for very long. After only one semester at the University of New Orleans, she decided to withdraw from the institution. In order to meet the financial obligations, she took on any and all jobs she could find, including working as a sales associate at JC Bartending, waiting tables, and going to Penny. Even though it was a difficult grind, Ellen was unable to remain still. She discovered a way to express herself through laughter while she was in the smoky clubs and coffee houses of New Orleans. Laughter became her means of escape. 1981 was the year that she was able to secure a position as the MC at Clyde's Comedy Club. After another 3 years, she was awarded the title of Showtime's funniest person in the United States. When she was asked about her early days in comedy, she stated that it was her way of surviving. Ellen did not experience a sudden surge of laughter one day. It allowed her to protect herself from the pain and connect with other people. It became her armor. Although she made steady progress in comedy, the wounds from her past continued to bother her. In an effort to get through the discomfort, she devoted herself completely to her work. Following a number of years spent performing stand-up comedy, Ellen made her stage comeback in 2018 with her Netflix special titled Relatable. Her way of letting the world know that, despite all of her jokes and smiles, she was still a human being was through this. Ellen, however, was more than just a comedian. During her time in the entertainment industry, she tried her hand at acting, landing roles in films such as Coneheads, and of course, becoming the voice of Dory in the film Finding Nemo. There was something truly remarkable about her performance as the fish that forgot everything. There was a great deal of happiness in her voice, but behind it, she was going through years of going through painful memories. Ellen's breakthrough came in the form of the sitcom Ellen, which she starred in. In 1997, she and her character shared the news that they were lesbians, thereby making history. Nevertheless, the world was not completely prepared. Immediately after the outpouring of support, she was met with criticism, and her show was canceled shortly thereafter. Although she was dealt a difficult blow, Ellen did not give up. In the year 2001, she made her return to television with The Ellen Show, but the show did not last either. There were whispers that behind her ever-cheerful persona, there was something darker. These rumors persisted even after she achieved success once more with The Ellen DeGeneres Show. She was not as kind as she appeared on screen, according to former writers who worked on the show. Many people were left wondering whether the woman who danced every day with her audience was concealing more than just feelings of pain as a result of the allegations, which cast a shadow over her career. In spite of everything, Ellen's career was successful. The warmth and humor that she exuded during her time as a talk show host helped her win millions of fans. There were memorable moments on her show, such as flying her high school classmates to a reunion, which contributed to the show's status as a mainstay on American television during its run. Despite the fact that her fame increased, she would say, "I never forgot where I came from." With the release of Ellen's Game of Games in 2017, Ellen was able to broaden her audience with a show that was both humorous and brought joy to her audience. After years of being known for her kindness, Ellen started to feel as though she was being confined by her image. It was revealed in a profile published in the New York Times in 2018 that she was having difficulty and that she felt confined by the persona that the world expected her to maintain. She had reached her limit by the year 2021. She made the announcement that The Ellen DeGeneres Show would be canceled after 19 seasons. A tearful farewell was delivered in May of 2022, when the last episode of the series was broadcast. The journey she had taken through television had been marked by both highs and lows, laughter and tears. Even though the show has come to an end, the market left on daytime television and on her audience has remained consistent throughout the years. It is not just about fame or fortune that Ellen's story is about. Rather, it is about surviving. Her iconic selfie with A-list celebrities at the Oscars became one of the most retweeted tweets in the history of the internet. She has hosted significant award shows, including the American Academy Awards. She has been a strong advocate for animal rights, has built a successful lifestyle brand, and has generously contributed to causes that are near and dear to her heart. All careers, however, are not devoid of controversy. In the year 2020, there were reports that surfaced about a toxic work environment on her show, which resulted in an internal investigation and the departure of several highly influential executives. Ellen acknowledged that she was responsible for the situation, expressed her dissatisfaction, and vowed to put things right. There was a time when she said, "I'm not perfect, but I'm trying." Ellen DeGeneres shocked the entire world when she made the announcement that she would be leaving the entertainment industry in July of 2024. She went on to say that this would be the final time that you would see me. And with that, a significant period of time came to a peaceful end. For the first time in her life, Ellen, who had spent decades making other people laugh, was leaving the public eye permanently. It seemed like the conclusion of a lengthy tale, but the reality was that her journey had comprised entire chapters that no one had anticipated. It is impossible to overstate the magnitude of Ellen's financial success over the course of her career. According to Forbes, she was the 12th highest paid entertainer in the world in the year 2020, with an estimated earnings of an astounding $84 million, according to the publication. The fact that she had a net worth of $370 million made her a formidable opponent to be reckoned with. It was in the year 2015 when she was ranked as the 51st most powerful woman in the entire world. In addition to that, she found herself in second place on the World Pride Power List. It appeared as though she had everything on paper, but numbers are not the only thing that can tell the whole story. It was always the case that there was more to Ellen's life than the accolades and the fame she received. In addition, she had a significant presence on social media. Between the months of August and September 2018, she had 76 million followers on Twitter and 55.8 million people following her on Instagram. The number of people who followed her on Twitter had decreased slightly to 75 million by November 2023. Despite this, her Instagram account had reached 139 million followers, placing her among the most influential people in the realm of social media. It was impossible to deny Ellen's reach. However, there was always something about her that seemed to be a little out of reach, lying dormant behind the smiles and laughter. Off-screen, Ellen was a huge fan of the National Football League, NFL, who cheered for the Green Bay Packers and the New Orleans Saints. At one point, she even went to a Saints practice while dressed up as Don Hudson, a legendary player for the Packers. Despite the fact that she was larger than life, people admired her playful side and her ability to poke fun at herself. Nevertheless, despite the humorous moments, there was a component of Ellen's life that continued to be difficult to overcome: her personal connections. As a result of Ellen's decision to come out as a lesbian in 1997, both her professional and personal lives were thrown into disarray. It was a damaging blow to her professional reputation that the media frenzy that followed was so intense. In her book, Love Ellen, her mother, Betty, wrote about how she was initially shocked, but how she eventually became a fierce advocate for her daughter and for the rights of LGBTQ people. The support that Ellen received from her mother was a savior for her during some of the most difficult times in her life. Between the years 1997 and 2000, Ellen was romantically involved with the beautiful actress Anne Heche. Following their breakup, she started a relationship with the photographer Alexandra Hedison, which lasted until 2004. The next phase of her life would be shaped by her relationship with the actress Portia de Rossi, however, in a significant way. The silence is finally broken by Portia de Rossi, who reveals her profound feelings and the struggles she has been going through in her personal life. It was in the year 2000 at a Hollywood event that Portia first encountered Ellen, as she revealed. Ellen had already established herself as a successful comedian and talk show host, and she was well known for her bravery in disclosing her orientation in a world that was not always accepting of her. Portia was a rising actress at the time, but she was still keeping her sexuality a secret because she was terrified of what having her sexuality revealed could do to her career. The moment they came face to face, a connection or a spark was established between them. Nevertheless, Portia was not yet prepared to take action on it. Life continued on after they had finished exchanging pleasantries. It was many years before they were able to see each other again. This time around, they were both single, and it became impossible to ignore anything that had been kept hidden between them in the past. While Portia was still coming to terms with living openly, they started dating in a clandestine manner in the year 2004, keeping their love a secret from the public. Ellen, who was already standing tall and proud, assisted her in navigating that challenging journey. It was later that Portia would say that I had walls up. For the first time, Ellen was the one who made me feel secure enough to go ahead and disappoint them. It was a love that was distinct and more profound, something that made them feel as though they were destined to find each other. As a result of their relationship becoming public knowledge, they became symbols of love, particularly for the LGBTQ+ community. On the other hand, Portia was gaining recognition for her role in Arrested Development, while Ellen's career was soaring to new heights. It appeared as though they were inseparable, as they were frequently seen attending events hand in hand, laughing together, and displaying a closeness that was readily apparent. Ellen proposed to Portia in a private and intimate moment at their home in 2008, shortly after the state of California lifted its ban on marriages between people of the same gender. Their wedding was uncomplicated but stunning, and many of their closest friends and family members were present. They made a solemn vow to each other, committing to support and care for one another no matter what challenges life may present them with. Not only did it feel like a victory for them, but it also felt like a victory for a lot of people who looked up to them. However, while life may appear to be perfect from the outside, this is not always the case. There were challenges lurking behind the smiles and the joyful moments that were shared by everyone. With the passage of time, Ellen's career continued to advance, and with it, the pressures that came along with it also continued to increase. Their marriage began to suffer losses as a result of the unrelenting pressures that her public life imposed on them. By the year 2014, rumors started to circulate that they were experiencing difficulties. They began to feel more and more exhausted as a result of the persistent scrutiny and the pressure to always be on. During this time, Portia was having a difficult time progressing. Her struggle with eating disorders had been going on for a long time, and the pressure of living in Ellen's shadow did not help. The fact that she was standing next to someone as famous as Ellen made it difficult for her to carve out her own space despite her desire to do so. Once Ellen's career, constant attention, and never-ending work hours became too much for her to bear, she was unable to continue. There were times when Portia felt isolated, even when Ellen was standing right next to her. In 2018, Ellen entertained the idea of canceling her talk show. Having to maintain a state of happiness at all times was a burden that left her feeling exhausted. She acknowledged to Portia that she was simply exhausted. There was a brief moment when it appeared as though things might be different. The idea was supported by Portia, who hoped that they would be able to spend more time together and repair the relationship that had been deteriorating between them. But in the end, Ellen decided to renew her contract, which resulted in a greater distance between them. After that, in the year 2020, the pandemic struck, and everything changed once more. It was alleged that Ellen was responsible for creating a hostile atmosphere at work. There was a raging storm in the media, and it was present everywhere. When she was in public, Portia was there for her. But behind closed doors, the strain was enormous. The tension that was caused by the scandal, in addition to the breakups that were already present in their relationship, started to take its toll. They continued to argue. In the same way that she was always determined to keep her public image under control, Ellen started to exercise the same need for control in her personal life. It did not go as planned. They entered therapy. In an effort to bridge the gaps that had developed over the course of their relationship, they attempted to talk through their problems. However, it was not sufficient. In the past, the love that had appeared to be so robust and unshakable appeared to be fragile now. Portia's growing sense of isolation, combined with Ellen's unwavering commitment to her career, resulted in a distance that neither of them could overcome. Unfortunately, they were unable to save their marriage in the end. After many years of trying, they finally had to face the harsh reality. Their love, which had been so strong in the past, was no longer sufficient to keep them together. They are still concerned about one another. Nothing could be more certain than that. But there are times when love alone is not enough. Love is not always sufficient to triumph over the difficulties that life presents. After the divorce, Portia quietly stated that although we made an effort, there are some things that are beyond repair. In the end, their love story, which had at one point appeared to be a fairy tale, did not conclude with fireworks, but rather with a quiet and emotional farewell. They will never forget the laughter, the moments of joy, and the memories that they carried with them. In the end, Ellen and Portia decided to go their separate ways after spending years attempting to make their relationship work. Their tale came to a close with the same unassuming elegance that had characterized a significant portion of their time apart. They had a profound love for one another, but even that isn't complete all the time. Conflicts within oneself and pressures from the outside world can put even the most powerful love to the test. Even though Portia and Ellen had a lot of happy times together, support, and love for one another, there are some wounds that just don't heal completely. As a result, the most effective method for discovering a cure for it is to simply leave. Then, don't you agree? In the comment section, please share your thoughts and subscribe to the channel to watch additional videos that are related to this topic.